Welcome to the webinar, Keeping Communication and Sense of Community with Young People Online. This webinar takes place within a larger, massive open online course on digital youth work. This course is supported by Erasmus Plus program, with Lithuanian national agency coordinating it, together with another 11 national agencies on board. So it's very international, and already from the course we can see it's even global, not European anymore, because we have people really from all around the world. I would like to invite our guest speaker of today's webinar, and it is Katja Štefanec from Ljubljana Pride organization from Slovenia. And I'm really glad that Katja decided and agreed to join our webinar, because I know they have really interesting experience, how they tried converting in-person activities to online activities, how they are keeping up the community alive, and how they are organizing events even though they cannot meet with many of people. So Katja, the floor is yours. You can tell more about yourself and what do you do.
Hello, thank you very much for having me. And it's also really nice to see at least one familiar face, maybe some others, but there's too many to actually see. And I hope that this will be useful to you somehow. As it was said, I'm coming from Ljubljana Pride Association, and maybe that's why I have a bit more specific context of working and of the community that we're working with. We have a small community and we're a very political organization. Our youth are actually young LGBTIQ+ activists and friends and allies, but this is our main group that we're working with. And I will talk a little bit about what we do, what was good, what was bad, what did I learn. A little bit about Ljubljana Pride for starters, so you can have a grasp of who we are and what we do. We are a small NGO, but we grew quite a lot in the past few years. We have about 7 employees, 2 ESC volunteers, and my role is shortly coordinating the youth program, but I have been in the organization for around 5 years already, starting as a really basic volunteer and then getting more and more into the core of the association. So it's really close to me, and I'm really excited about the work we do here, and I hope it will be inspiring to you as well. Yeah, so our most visible moment of the year is, of course, in June, when we have the Pride Parade Festival. That's like this cultural, political festival that lasts about 1 week, a bit more, and it ends with the Pride Parade. Last year we had, no, not last year, in 2019, when things were still normal, we had around 2,500 people joining the parade. And last year it was our 20th anniversary of Pride Parade in Ljubljana, in Slovenia, just for the feeling of the size of the community, let's say. And besides the festival, we work all year around. We are a youth organization and we do quite a lot of non-formal education. We have workshops, trainings, mentorships for young and adult people, and we run several big projects on local and national level. And our kind of main topics are hate speech, so tackling, addressing, transforming hate speech, bullying in school, that's mostly based on gender identity or sexual orientation, but not just that, wider as well. Housing problems of LGBT people, and generally we have a really strong stance on anti-racism, on any kind of systemic oppression, and all our activities and programs reflect that. And so, yeah, when it comes to online youth work, I made this template that I will go through with each activity that I will present. And it's something that was really useful even for me now when I was gathering all this experience that I had and reflecting on it. So I made this template that would rate type of interaction, meaning whether it was direct, whether, for example, it was a workshop and we talked to one each other, or something in between, or it was indirect. So basically we just, I don't know, posted something for the community to see in this kind of sense. And then the duration of the activity, whether it was a one-time thing, whether it's constant, because we have some programs that were running, that are running for quite some years. For example, I will be mentioning Pride Connect. Those are like weekly, bi-weekly events for young LGBTIQ plus activists that just want to get together and work on something and create something and talk about activism and all that comes with it. And then range of reach, in a sense that whether we manage to target more local community or we manage to connect with people from different cities and countries, because we are Ljubljana Pride Association, so we are really centered in Ljubljana, but we always take the opportunity to connect with others, of course, and engagement. So was it successful what we tried to do, and why? Did we engage a small number of people, a big number of people? And at this point, I would say that I'm talking in a small scale events and activities, because as I said, we're a smaller country and we have really specific target audience. Maybe, you know, what I will say that is big for us, then you will think, okay, that's really uncomparable to our situation. But I always think that Slovenia is like a really good example, because it's so tiny and then you can really see every difference that happens. And I will also try to address, okay, so what tools I used. I do have to say that they were usually pretty simple. And how did that activity bring the community together? What did it do? You know, what did it address? Yeah, is that clear? Maybe at this point I would just stop for a second if there's any questions.
We don't have any at the moment, but at the same time, a good chance to people. And somebody said yes, thumbs up. And at the same time, invitation to ask questions to Katja in the chat, or those watching us on Facebook Live, add questions there in comments, and we'll try to ask these questions then while Katja is sharing her experience.
Thank you. Great. Okay, so I will start with our idahobit workshop plus campaign. So idahobit is International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Intersexism, and Transphobia. And we did an online campaign where we designed some Facebook profile frames. I got one here to show you, and promoted them with our political message. So each year we have a specific political message that we put out at the festival, and this was a pre-festival promoting of this message that was that consisted of political demands of things that we haven't reached yet as an LGBTIQ plus community, and they were quite broad. They weren't just legal wise, it was also connected to society in general, to education system, to health system, and it really covered a lot of things, so a lot of people could find their voice in them. And as you can see here, I marked it how I thought that this activity or this campaign was, and it consisted of a workshop where we invited young people to come and design the frames for the Facebook picture with us, and then the campaign where we kind of published this and we promoted it, and it lasted for a while, and then it was over. And I put here that it was media, engagement was between small and big, and that is because when we did the workshop, actually there was not much response, and when we made the frames and posted them, the response was really big. So it was an interesting thing, because I was expecting that people would be really interested to do this creative design part, but apparently not. So this was my first learning moment. And then when we posted the frames, people used them, and they had like a fun twist as you can see here, that you have to take a picture of yourself screaming and into the megaphone, and then adding this demand that kind of speaks what you want, what you demand for yourself. And this, what this activity did was, it was almost a form of an online pride protest, because we showed who we are and we demanded equal rights, but we didn't do it on the streets. It was on Facebook news feed. So I think that it was meaningful and it was very symbolic. And that year's topic was breaking the silence, hence the sign on the megaphone.
You're getting some hearts from the audience.
That's lovely. Yeah, and it was really satisfying to scream and then take a picture of yourself screaming. Yeah, next thing is also like this international day that addresses LGBTIQ plus community, and it was Transgender Day of Visibility commemoration. It was an open call for trans people to send us a video of them kind of being active and still protesting despite quarantine. So whether that was putting a banner on our window or doing self-care. And at this point, I have to say why there will be a lot of protesting mentioned. And one reason for that is, as I said, that we're very political and non-commercial association, but also because besides Corona, we also got some really right-wing government that is attacking our democratic freedom. There was this need to voice out that protest while being very restricted and not being able to actually organize protests or to even meet because of Corona, So that's why you will see that a lot of activities address this in some way. Yeah, and how we did this, we posted a call and asking people to send their video, and the engagement was quite big. And then afterwards, I edited this into one, making a little story. You can see I posted the screenshot. If you want to watch it, I think it's super cute. But the point is that it was like this medium type of interaction. So it was in one hand directly with the people who were sending videos, and we were in contact like how to do it, what should they do. And then on the other hand, we did the video, we posted it to a broader LGBTIQ plus community, and this was very indirect. It was more like through likes and sharing.
Yeah. And do you understand this was on YouTube, the video?
Yes. Here you
maybe,
can see the...
Yeah, there was also one question from Bernie asking if there's a subtitle. Are there subtitles for that video? In English, for example?
Sorry, they're not. I think you can try to on the automatic ones, but it's in Slovene. But if you watch it, you will still see what's the story. The story is just portraying trans people being active in quarantine. So it's there's not a lot of dialogue and so on. So definitely watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, and adding to that YouTube is often missed a little bit. Many people still consider as a place to keep the videos, but for many it's a social network as well. And it's among the most visited also by young people. And I think for some, YouTube is the first thing they would check and go, even more than Facebook, Instagram, and other like mega networks.
Yeah, it's true. And I have to say that we have biggest reach to young people on Instagram, and YouTube is this platform that, yeah, like you said, actually, that we just place the videos there. And I think that we want to work on getting a bigger reach, but we are facing some challenges with that. So maybe if any of the participants has some tips on how to really make the reach bigger on YouTube, I would be very interested to read it in the chat. This particular video and some other similars like this. So this type of open call and then this common result. I think it was a really nice way of collaborating. Because instead of meeting all together and sitting down and creating a story together and then filming ourselves, and that it was some sort of like an online version of that, and people could contribute, and even if they didn't feel like contributing, that they still watch the result. So it's really similar when we meet live. Some people are more participative and they always talk and they always contribute, and some people just come and listen, and that's a really important space to give them as well. And it also showed some familiar faces of the community, and I think it's really something that's missing when you go into that one bar that everyone's going to be, and then you wonder who you're going to see. That feeling, I think that was really nicely portrayed here. And it gives off the vibe like, okay, yeah, we're all in this together, and we got this. Okay, so another interesting thing is decontamination, hateful graffiti mapping. So first of all, I will just explain that it's not a typo. Decontamination is a project that we have been running for quite some years. It's something that we've been doing online even before. And it's made of a word decontaminate and contra. And the point is to address these graffiti wars that are happening on our streets and have a lot of really offensive, homophobic, racist graffiti. And then a lot of time people fixing them and writing a positive message instead. I picked a photo from the internet to show you in English because most of you wouldn't understand the Slovene ones, but just so for an example to see what I mean. So it's taking this bad message and turning into something funny, positive, and empowering. And what we do is we have a website. We are developing actually at the moment an application that will make this even easier, where you can walk around the streets and see something like this and take a picture of it and then post it to this map, and then maybe someone will see it, and then I don't know, maybe something will happen to it, I don't know, and then the next day you will pass that street and you will see it fixed and with a really nice message. It was happening before, but after we went online, it gave it a new meaning, because it was good it was still maintaining some of this community feeling in the moments where things were semi-open, because we had a lot of this. We had the regulations change constantly, like daily, and I'm sure that you have a similar experience in some countries. And there were these in-between periods where you could gather in small groups, but you couldn't have events. So people that couldn't or didn't have those really few close friends to hang out with couldn't really go to some place where there would be a crowd, and they couldn't find their community. And I think you would be left out of socialization if you didn't have that close circle that not everyone has, especially if you're new to the scene, or if you're, I don't know, if you moved or anything like this. There's a lot of reasons. And it's completely indirect, because you don't really talk to anyone, or you don't really engage with anyone directly, but it's really a community project. I really love it.
Yeah. When listening for that, I made a note for myself that it's a very interesting approach. You said it kept this sense of community in a way by creating online access or inviting people for a common cause, but still individual action, right? Because people cannot meet physically, they can still walk around alone and do something alone, but this created an access and kind of feeling of connectedness between people in a territory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we do have 5 more minutes left, so Katja, I will ask you also to go through and mention a little bit, how was it for you to keep on the relationship with young people with whom you had before, and maybe you had meetings physically in some space. How was it for you, and what kind of other things you were doing, and how was the experience of managing that process?
Firstly, I just tried to do the same that I would do live online. And as I mentioned somewhere before, typical workshops didn't work for our community. Just typical Zoom workshop with all these elements of trying to create safer space and this talking in a circle, that didn't reach many people. And I think that how we managed to really to keep all this community that would usually come to this kind of events is with Pride and around Pride Festival. We first with some, like, magical streak of luck, we managed to do Pride live. It was absolutely different than every year. People had to apply and give their personal information, and there was only 500 people available, but we live streamed it. And this live stream sparked so many comments from so many people that wanted to come, but they couldn't or didn't want to because of this political reason, which is understandable, but it was the only way. And this Pride Festival, it's the one time a year when everyone really comes together. So doing things like this, Pride live streaming, or for example, we did a digital exhibition on 20 years of Pride, because we had 20th anniversary, and we posted all these archive photos and videos and posters and all of these materials from past years. And people really loved it because it gave this nostalgic feeling. And again, it was indirect, but there was again this feeling of, oh my God, am I going to see myself? Am I going to see my friend? And I think this nostalgia is what reconnects people. And I don't know, maybe if we're running out of time, maybe I would also take a moment to say that for the LGBT community, and any kind of marginalized group, the community means a lot. And the lack of it, plus the quarantine, plus the whole situation, a lot of times means that you have to go back to the closet, literally, live with your transphobic parents, or move out of your dorm and go back and either pretend you're straight or just experience violence and abuse. And another really good tip that I can think of, maybe now, for out of way too much material that I had prepared, is, for example, keep in mind that maybe people are not in a safe space, because we only see, you only see me, and you don't know what's going on around me. And a lot of people maybe aren't able to participate and to talk and to engage in a way they would like to. Maybe they have parents in the other room and listening to what they would say. So when we had some like Zoom workshops and so on, we always stated that you can join and you can only listen if you want. You can have your headphones in and just be there. We will see that you're there. We understand what's going on. Don't worry. You can write in the chat and all these types of what I was mentioning, doing this video together. The importance is, I think, just to create enough diverse activities that will try to satisfy as many needs as possible.
Thanks a lot for sharing, and I think, yeah, you had a few more things out there, and then I would say some space for questions, something to clarify, to comment, to appreciate. So inviting others to, yeah, either use chat or actually unmute, and yeah, people giving claps to Katja.
Thank you so much. That's really nice.
I'm Mattia from Portugal. Thank you, Katja, for the sharing and the links to further explore. My question was, in your experience, in the experience of your youth NGO, to which point an online community maintain itself? I will say, without your input as youth worker and as organization behind. So which is this turning point where we support creating something, and then something is useful, but then goes wherever need to go, no, without the support of youth workers and an organization behind.
I think it's quite abstract to think. But if I take out Pride and myself and this whole part out of the equation, usually there are events that happen that connect everyone, and then some time passes by, and then something happens and we're connected again. So I think that it remains. The community remains. It's just, I think there's like a curve, and sometimes it's more visible and sometimes it's less. And sadly, usually the things that really connect the community are bad things, are some sort of hate crimes or something like this. And the solidarity is what connects it and sustains it every time, no matter how many fights and conflicts there is. Every time when something happens, solidarity is the thing that everybody shows and everybody turns up for.
Thanks a lot. We have one more question from Maria asking, did you keep engaging the same people whom you had before, or did you actually manage to reach and connect to new people when you moved online?
I think I would say more new people. The people from before were often my friends or people that were really the closest to us, and they had this energy to keep on coming, and despite the fact that it's quite hard to do the same thing online. But people that didn't have this chance to come to some activities until now, maybe also because they were just shy, or maybe because they weren't close enough to Ljubljana. There's quite a lot of people like this that kind of popped out, and we made some new connections, and they had this opportunity to meet us and meet what we do. So I think this gap was covered a little bit.
Yes, Nella posted, what is digital youth work for you? Probably practically.
This is maybe something I should open with. Maybe I jumped like straight to. So yeah, I think I see youth work as learning and creating. So what makes it digital is just the fact that okay, yeah, that it happens online, but also that there's a lot of maybe digital skills involved. But the core, I think, for me remains the same. It's always about these elements of non-formal education that just make it into what it is. This willingness to learn in a different way, and this creative ways of making something better, doing something for the society. It's really, I always have really dreamy answers to these things. So I hope, yeah. So I actually do agree with what Joe wrote, that we learn in dialects. So creating good dialogue online is a skill.
It goes along with many people saying that this digital addition to youth work, it's something that we are adding right now because we're experimenting a lot with the using media and online solutions. But in the long term, it will probably be just a youth work, because digitalization is all around. It will be a natural part. Some of it will be in person, but digital aspect of our lives is present already. It will not disappear anywhere, but it doesn't mean that youth work will stay online all the time. All right. So yeah, thanks a lot for other coming up, and also I see Diana sharing her links, and then other people can share theirs. At this moment, I'm saying thank you very much, Katja, for your sharing, for your introduction. Seems a lot of people appreciated your story, your experience.